nothing, no further comments, Madam Secretary?
Audrey Miller. Yes. Robert Paris.
Yes.
Jay Tremblay.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Drew Mercy.
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to consent, calendar 7A1. We just have one item on that, regarding the minutes of the September 23rd. So I think we all had a chance to review that. If there's no further questions or comments, motion would be in order.
Mr. President, I'll move for approval of consent calendar.
We have a motion by Director Mercy.
Right on that.
Dre, we got a second? No further comments, Madam Secretary?
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
Jay Tremblay.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes.
Drew Mercy.
Yes.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried. Moving right along to next item, new business, and we have a presentation regarding our tax revenues and the increases in Matt, will you please make the introduction on that?
Yes. Good evening. Thank you, President Lane, and good evening, board members. So as you know, we have a tax consultant, David Shea from HDL Corn and Cone. Every year they do a nice report and analysis on our property tax that the agency receives, and also the assessed value of all the properties within LA County portion of our service area, as well as Kern County. So we have Dave Shea with us this evening. He's got about 6 slides to go through. We did print out a hard copy. You should just see that on your desk. And then for directors, Dias and Van Dam, I believe you received an email from Holly on that presentation.
That's
So
correct.
with that, I'll turn it over to Dave Shea, and he'll go through his analysis summary.
Thanks, Matt. First, I'll apologize right off the bat. I got a little cold, so if I'm sniffling and sneezing, I'll try to make it as discreet as I can. Members of the board, the slides that you see here are a brief overview of the assessed value changes from year to year, as well as our estimated revenue amounts that are becoming to the district from the property tax values. This first slide is showing you some history of the assessed value growth within the district's area in LA County. As you can see, the value growth has been very consistent at a 5 to 6% range. It's very typical that the value growth in the last couple of years has tended to be a little bit less than in the prior years. And as you can see, growth for 25-26, fiscal year 25-26, was 5.3% over last year. And 24-25 was about a 5.6% increase over the year before that. So your average growth over this period of time has been 5.78%. And so as you can see, your growth has been very consistent through both boom times in the mid-2010s through COVID and into the mid-2020s. Can we see the next slide, please?
What is the SBE non-unitary?
SBE non-unitary is, that SBE stands for State Board of Equalization.
Railroad tracks and pipe like that, pipelines?
I'm sorry?
Oh, okay, continue.
Okay. Unitary revenue is actually utility revenues or utility values that are assessed by the state board for rights of way and facilities that are owned by utilities such as Southern California Edison, Southern California Gas, PG&E, San Diego PG&E, etc. They also assess the values on railroads, and the idea is that they're assessing the value for all of those facilities on a statewide basis, and then those unitary revenues are collected by the counties and allocated to the various entities. The non-unitary are, there's a sort of a number of things that go into it. One is property that's owned by the utilities but's not being used for utility purposes. So if you had an Edison-owned facility, a warehouse, for instance, that wasn't being used for their provision of electrical services, that would be assessed by the state but taxed at the county level as SB non-unitary. It also can include electrical generation facilities. I just met with Oxnard this morning, and they've got a former Edison power plant on the coast that's now owned by a private entity that is now being assessed and taxed on the SB non-unitary roll. So it's basically
going down since 2016.
Pardon me?
It appears they've been going down in value since 2016, 17.
Yeah, they vary a bit. As I was saying, in Oxnard, that value actually went down dramatically when Edison closed the power plant, but has gone up dramatically as it's been reopened. So those values do vary a little bit from year to year, but they're typically a very small part of the total value within the district or a city in general.
But again, it shouldn't be going down. So there's got to be a story behind that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one thing to keep in mind is that because they're board assessed utility type or utility adjacent values, they're not subject to the 2% inflation adjustment. And so, you know, if they stay the same, they don't go up. And they are subject, however, to depreciation and annual reporting. So,
But
know,
again, 10 years ago or less than 10 years ago, they were 5 million. Now it's 2,600,000. It makes no sense. Somebody's done a good job of appealing.
Well, it's not just appeals. In some cases, there are properties that migrate out of the category. That, you know, might be Edison properties that they sell and they're no longer on that roll.
There's still a story behind it we're not hearing. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Yeah, this is a revenue estimate. Total value within the LA County portion of the district is $37.6 billion for this year. As I mentioned, it's up 5.3%. The revenue summary box that you see just below is estimating your district revenues from the 1% tax rate. The city or the district share is relatively small, but because you've got a big footprint, it does generate quite a bit of revenue, and it's a little over $4 million for this year. Now, that doesn't estimate revenues from supplemental assessments and prior year collections, but this is the revenue from current year secured and unsecured values. The amount below that, 26.2 million, is the amount of revenue that's generated by your state water contract override tax rate within the district in LA County. That amount of money is generated from your entire area, and it's entirely allocated to the district. The table just below that is the value change by land use category. Residential land uses increased by $1.2 billion for this year. That was a 5% increase. Vacant land values were up $250 million as an 8% increase, and then commercial values are up $122 million. There's quite a bit of value in the Antelope Valley in industrial and industrial values. Those were up $231 million. That was an 18% increase, and a lot of that had to do with the with values owned by aerospace industries in the Palmdale and Lancaster area. The smaller land use categories varied a little bit. Some were up a bit, some were down a bit. Nothing too dramatic there. If we look over to the left, the value change by cause, here's you're seeing what's actually causing the value changes. CPI growth, that's just the change in value due to the 2% inflation adjustment, added $624 million to the roll this year. And sale of properties that occurred in 2024 resulted in changes of value that were added to this year's roll and totaled $888 million. So those are your two major components of value growth from a year-over-year basis. You had $290 million that resulted from non-residential new construction and another $53 million for residential new construction. The $57 million reduction you see there is mostly from assessment appeals that were filed by non-single family property owners that argued with the appeals board that the market value of their property had fallen below the current assessed value. And when they were able to prove that up, the assessment appeals board granted reductions in value that are temporary and only exist until the market value once again exceeds their inflation adjusted base value. So that 57 million is a temporary reduction that eventually erodes and goes away as the market values climb. Can we see the next slide, please?
You referenced a little bit, but on the slide to the right of that recreational property, comment on that?
Yeah, recreational properties are any number of types of properties. In some cases, they can be bowling alleys, golf courses, gyms, things like that. I don't recall off the top of my head just what resulted in that reduction in value. In some cases, it could be a bowling alley, for instance, that went out of service, or it could be just a reduction as a result of a sale of a property that might reduce the values. But recreational property values tend to be a very small part of the total value and adjust either up or down based upon sales as well as the inflation adjustment. Next slide. Here we're looking at the actual sales history. If we look in the upper right-hand box, the number of sales that have occurred annually are shown just below where it says 2025 up in the top. And you can see the number of sales was 8,095 in 2021. That dropped down to 5,900 the following year, 5,000 the next year, bumped up a little bit to 5,200. Now through September, it's at 3,500. That's a pattern that we're seeing just about everywhere in the state, with a gradual decline in the number of sales that have occurred. Part of that is due to higher property values that are narrowing the number of people that are available to buy property. And in some cases, it's also being narrowed by the increases in mortgage rates. We do see, though, that if you look over in the second column from the right, you'll see the percentage of value gained as a result of these sales. And those have been pretty strong. You know, they started off at just under 75% value gain on sales in 2021, dropped a little bit in 2022, but are in the 60 to 70% range. And the sales so far this year have averaged a 55% increase. So the value added, that's the amounts in the far right column, is a function not only of the number of sales and the type of sales, but also what properties actually sell. If a property has not been on the market for 10 or 15 years and it sells, you see a bigger jump in value than you would if it was a resale of a property that was just sold 3 or 4 years ago. So the amount of value gained is kind of coincidental with the actual property that sells. But so far this year, we're looking at about $518 million that'll be added to the 26-27 roll once that roll is issued in July, or next July. And by the time that the full year of sales is occurring, we may very well be in excess of that $850 million that you see that was added on the current year roll. Can I see the next slide, please? Now with this slide, we're turning to the Kern County portion of the district. Total value in the Kern County district, portion of the district is about $11.3 billion. That's up 5.48% from the prior year. We saw very strong growth in 22, 23, 23, 24. There was a lot of addition of unsecured value there as solar panel facilities were being installed. We're still seeing solar panel installations happening, and a lot of the growth that we saw in the Kern County portion of the district for this year came from mining interests as well. U.S. Borax and Golden Queen mines added quite a bit of value this year. Overall, over this period of time, the average value growth, or the average annual value growth, was 6.19%. We see the next page. One more down. There we go. Total value, as I indicated, was 5.48%. If we look in the revenue summary, the district's 1% revenue, that's your share of the 1% tax revenue on the value within the district, will total about $1.6 million. And in addition to that, you'll be looking at about $14.9 million in override tax revenue. That's your state water contract override rate. Down below that, you can see the changes in value from one year to the next. The unsecured values are up $408 million. Again, most of that comes from installations of solar panels and battery farms that are going in with those solar panels. Residential values added about $179 million. You did have some value loss among miscellaneous parcels, which were some of the mining interests that shifted values around and resulted in some value reductions. Vacant land parcels were up $70.5 million. Commercial values were up about $19 million, and industrial was up about $18 million. If we look over to the right, to the left, CPI growth added about $98.6 million to the roll this year, and transfers of ownership in 2024 added about $175 million to the roll for this year. Non-residential new construction was $80.7 million, residential new construction about $20 million. The other changes down below that, negative $186 million, a lot of that had to do with the miscellaneous mining changes that we saw to the right, but there were some other miscellaneous changes as a result of assessment appeals changes, multi-parcel sales, and changes in exemptions that occurred in the roll in total. But overall, your value growth for this year was $11.3 billion, $591 million. That was a 5.48% increase over the prior year. Next page, please. And then this again is the table that shows sales. Again, the number of sales is trending downwards a bit. It was about 3,600 in 2021, a little under 3,000 in 2022, 2,700 in 2023, 2,500 in 2024. And so far in 2025, this is through September, we're at about 1,700. Depending on what the sales do through the last quarter of the year, we may very well get above that 2,000 level and approach the 2,500 sales we had last year. If we look in the far right column, the sales in 2024 added $175 million to the roll for this year. And based upon the sales that have occurred so far in 2025, we'll be adding $100 million to the roll for 26-27. And again, with a quarter's worth of sales left to go, we may very well get up, pretty close to that 175 million that was added to this year's rolls. Still a little bit less than what we saw a few years ago, but depending on which properties sell and what interest rates do over the next few months, we may see that go up a bit. And I think that's the final slide. Yes. Did you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to go into a little deeper, or maybe look up and get back to you with?
District non-SA area, what is that?
That's the portion of the district that's not in a former redevelopment project. So within Kern County, there's a small amount of the district area that's within the former California City redevelopment project. That project will be going away in 2033-34. So about another 8 years, it'll be gone, and then all revenue, including what's now incremental revenue, will flow through the regular AV8 allocation process.
Did you do any research for receiving those monies?
As far as
The redevelopment.
I haven't. Those vary a little bit from year to year, depending on what the ROPS amounts are in the former project areas. I know, and I have done in prior years, I've done some analysis to see what the pass-through and residual revenue to the district has been. You do have areas within the Lancaster Successor Agency and the Palmdale Successor Agency in LA County. The only former project area that you have any overlap with in Kern County is California City. But you do generate, a fair amount of pass-through and residual revenue in the LA County area.
Matt, we're following that if we're receiving those monies.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna look to Teresa on that.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is that within the redevelopment project areas, the law was changed a few years ago. It's been 7 or 8 years ago now. And so all of your state water contract override revenue doesn't go through the RDA anymore. It gets allocated through the RPTTF process, but you're receiving 100% of that. It's not being diluted by going through
the point is, for a number of years ago, we weren't getting anything. We researched it and we were getting paid, trying to pay back and keep current, and just wondering if we're on top of that and make sure we're getting what's due to us.
Well, we're definitely getting what's being transferred through the county. They separate it out. Don't they separate it out on the payment detail, Teresa, or not? No.
But we were not mad at one time. There was a significant amount of money. Just nobody knew about it and it wasn't happening.
Okay.
So somebody has to physically do it. So can we check that?
Yeah, we can check it down.
LA County and Kern County?
Yeah, we can. I'll work with Teresa and Dave Shea and the counties.
Keith, you remember that, do you not?
Yes, I do. We had to go back and forth several years before we finally got what was owed us.
Yeah, I remember Dave Shea did some work 2 or 3 years ago on looking at that. So we'll revisit that.
But somebody has to physically do it, and if it's not done, then we're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Well, since 2011, all those tax increment revenues are being processed by the county auditor controller, and I know from looking at prior years, they're calculating the pass-throughs based upon the agreements that they receive from the agencies as well as from the district.
Well, the comment they're supposed to, but we need to verify it. Well, hopefully they are.
Okay.
In fact, I think we even had to finish the agreement. They had the original agreement that was lost.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else, Dave? Or does that wrap it up?
No, that's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you. Good job. Any other questions?
I have one quick question. So bottom line, what is the growth of the tax revenue for AVEK from last year to this year?
Well, the revenue growth is going to pretty much follow the growth in assessed value, because the tax rate of 1%, the share the district gets from that 1% growth is pretty consistent. So the growth within LA County should be pretty close to about the 5% growth in AV, and the growth within the Kern County portion of the district should be pretty close to about 5.5% over the prior year.
Is that the same for the AVEK state water contract rate that we get?
Correct.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
if we're keeping the tax rate the same, which we have been,
Right.
then we've been seeing
growth
about
would be
5.5 rate increase year over
Okay.
year.
Got it, thanks.
Is there any other questions or comments? Good
Thank you very
good
much.
presentation.
Yeah, good job, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you much. Moving on to the item number B, the Finance Committee, and Director Dias, we'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met last Thursday. The first item we discussed and recommend for full board approval is the check register list for the period of October 2nd to October 15th. And I believe that our General Manager Knudsen will review that with us.
All right. Thank you, Director Dias. So begin on page 12 of your packet is the check run for this period. Starting with item number 1, which is our most significant payment every month. Payment to Department of Water Resources, just over $2.9 million. This is our monthly variable invoice or payment for water deliveries during the month of August. So during the month of August, we delivered 14,900 acre feet during that month. Our current rate is about $205 per acre foot. Of that 14,000, Westside Water Bank and the High Desert Water Bank. Moving on to the second page, we have a few payments. Item 32 is our annual agency dues for Aqua or ACWA. That was approved as part of our membership list, over $27,000. And that's an important membership because that gets us access to Aqua JPIA's liability insurance, property insurance program, workers' comp, as well as all the health benefits for employees.
Was that the agency that was reducing the fees? There was one agency was going down to 1% increase versus 2.7%.
I don't recall. This one's been pretty flat over the years. So this membership dues. Item 36 is a payment to Aqua Aerobics. They're rebuilding the ozone generator at the Eastside Water Treatment Plant. That was approved by the board back in April. 38 is progress payment for recoding our chemical storage tanks here at Quartz Hill Water Treatment Plant and the Eastside Water Treatment Plant, just under $10,000. And item 40 is a progress payment for the rebuild of the traveling water screens at the Fairmount Turnout. And that's for just under $87,000. Everything else is pretty routine. You jump ahead to item page 16 and 17, we have a few checks there or payments associated with the High Desert Water Bank. Page 16 is based on the operation and maintenance agreement with Metropolitan. Page 17 is based on the capital program. And all of these payments get reimbursed, as you know, by Metropolitan Water District. Page 18 gives a breakdown of the credit card expenses for each of the managers. And then we also break out the detail of any travel or conference related detail. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on the check run.
If there's no further comments or questions, 8B1, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve Board Order 8B1. This is Keith.
Director Dias, we have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second Mr. Dias.
Okay, Jay, a second. You have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Jay Tremblay,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next item that the Finance Committee discussed and recommends for full board approval is the Treasurer's Report for the month ending September 30th, 2025. Finance Manager Yates will present to the full board.
Okay, thank you, Director Dias. Good evening, directors. This is the Treasurer's Report for September. At September 30th, the average yield to maturity for the total portfolio was 4.263%, which was down 0.056% from August. The average days to maturity was 190 days, or approximately 6 months. And total cash and investments at September 30th was 162.3 million, which was down 2.7 million from August 31st. And that was due to the $6 million settlement payment that was made in September. But the reason the decrease wasn't 6 million was the agency received $1 million in property taxes during September, and there was only one check run. The second check run was dated October 1st, so it missed these September 30th balances. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Good job.
Thank you.
Is there any questions?
No.
You gotta make some obvious mistakes, Teresa.
I'm gonna put one in and see if you can find it.
Okay. Yeah, that's, it's set up, we can, follow it real easy. If there's no further questions or comments, a motion would be in order. Okay, Jay?
Yeah.
Motion from Jay.
I'll make my first motion.
We have a second. Drew, is that a second? Okay.
From Ms. Lynn.
Okay, we have a motion,
Jarring from.
motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
Jay Tremblay,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried.
And then the next item we discussed and recommend for full board approval is a purchase order with ERS Industrial Services to perform the annual channel cleaning at the Quartz Hill Water Treatment Plant. And I believe Operations Manager Bozigian will make a presentation to the board.
Thank you, Keith. Good evening, everybody. So every year before we get to the slides, we take the Quartz Hill Treatment Plant offline for 2 weeks in the winter, dead of winter, and we drain it and we clean areas that normally are inaccessible. Before we did the BBP project in 2010, we were able to clean it all ourselves, just get in there with VGs, fire hoses, etc. Since DBP happened, we expanded the plant, changed things around. There's certain areas that you just can't get into anymore. And we've had to have industrial vacuum crews come in and do that type of work. That being said, ERS has done it for the last many, many years. They're an industrial cleaning company, and they have given us a good price. They've held their price for about 3 or 4 years. This year they raised it a little bit. So Matt suggested we go out for proposals and just to see if we're in the ballpark or they're in the ballpark. So we did. We went out to 3 companies, KVAC Environmental in Rancho Cucamonga, and United Pumping in City of Industry. And we solicited proposals. They all did job walks. They all knew what they were bidding on. And the proposals came in. ERS was $27,540. KVAC was $41,715, and United Pumping was $54,868. So why the discrepancy? Well, I just think it's because ERS knew exactly what's involved in doing this. And the other companies, there's some unknowns. And so they just threw some money at it just to cover themselves. So ERS definitely does a great job. If we look at the slides, you can see this is the settled water channel, clarified water channel. This is a new channel that was put in during the DBP process or expansion. It's only about 5 feet tall, so you know it's pretty cramped quarters. The company that goes in there has to be confined space certified, have their own air monitors, etc. On the left, we have the the left one would be the plant influent channel, a little taller but pretty narrow. And Holly, if we go to the next group of slides. This is the ozonated water channel, another new channel that takes water from the clarifiers through the ozonation process. And again, confined space. And then this is our plant effluent channel. This is where the finished water comes out of the filters and ultimately gets chlorinated and goes into the clear well. So you can see it's pretty involved process, but by cleaning it every winter, we can ensure good water quality during the summer, during high flow periods. So this is kind of the standard of what we do. With that being said, we would recommend going with DRS again in the amount of $27,540. And it's typically about a 3-day job for them to come in and do all this work.
Any questions from John? John, I'm glad you're keeping on top of all this.
Oh, thank
You can get ahead of a person.
Well, we have a good crew. I'll tell you that.
That's important.
Now, can you go back to that first slide?
Sure, Holly. Okay.
I know it's Halloween and that kind of looks like a horror movie.
See, now I was going to make a story out of it for Rob, but I thought, no, I don't want to overplay my hand.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's pretty creepy down there. For sure it is. It's very dark.
If there's no further questions or comments, motion would be in order for 8B3, Dr. Dias, or you're recommending this?
Yes, the full board, the committee recommends approval, and I'll make a motion, we approve it.
We have a motion by Dr. Dias.
And I'll second that motion.
By Dr. Paris. No further questions or comments? Madam Secretary?
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
Jay Tremblay,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried.
And the next item we discussed was a purchase order with R&B Automation to remove and replace the 30-inch flow control valve at PRS-1. And again, Operation Manager Bozigian will present to the board.
Okay, thank you. Holly, I think we can go to the slide if you would, please. There you go. So PRS-1 is pressure reducing station number 1 on the west feeder. Water comes from the Fairmont turnout. It develops a lot of pressure going downhill, about 140 PSI, and we have to break it down to about 80 pounds of pressure at this first pressure reducing station. So the water goes through this 30-inch valve. In the past 6-7 years, we've banked over 170,000 acre feet at our Westside water bank. And we've run pretty high velocity flows to get this water in the ground in a limited amount of time. And so what it does is it goes through this valve, and it's worn this valve pretty good. When there's water going through it at 100 cubic feet per second, this thing rattles pretty good. This actuator moves around, and we thought once we get the water in this year, we're going to have somebody come in and look at this. So now that we're offline, Department of Water Resources is taking the aqueduct offline the week of November 17th. We thought, let's get this done in case we have a potential spill at San Luis. We can get back online very quickly. So we went to R&B, who's they're our go-to valve company, and they have a valve in stock, but we may not have to replace it. He's recommending that we pull this valve out. And if you've been in the pressure reducing station, it's underground, it's very confined, and getting that in and out is no easy job. But he wants to pull that valve out and inspect it, and he may be able to repair it on site. If he can, the price is going to be much less, obviously. If he can't, he will have a valve on site that he can replace. Regardless, we're going to replace this actuator. This is about a 50-year-old actuator gearbox. We're gonna replace that with a new model that's much more efficient. So anyway, R&B's price includes a new valve, all the hardware to replace it, all the gaskets. You have gaskets here, you have these Victaulic gaskets, new actuator, everything for a not to exceed price of $52,765.86. And hopefully it'll be much less if they can fix it. We went with R&B because they're the only ones that had the valve in stock at this short notice. So be happy to answer any questions on that.
Okay, good job, Martha.
Thanks, John. Move approval of board order 8B4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No further questions or comments. Madam Secretary, we have a roll call.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
Jay Tremblay,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried. Yeah, thank you much, John.
All right. Good job, John.
Just as a little update, Matt, I was looking at the Aqua News. In September, the Aqua Board of Directors, they voted to increase the dues from 2.5 to 1%.
Oh, okay.
Originally, it was
That's where you saw it.
approved at 2.5, they reduced it to 1%.
Oh, okay.
I thought AVEK had something to do with that, so
Probably.
good. Good answer. Good answer. Okay, moving on to planning, what about the state water contractors? And again, the Director Dias.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Planning and Antelope Valley State Water Contractors Association Committee met October 9th in our duties as representing AVEK on the Antelope Valley State Water Contractors Association meeting. And one of the items we discussed was approval of the AV State Water Contractors Association budget for the 2025-2026 USGS survey groundwater monitoring program. We recommend full board approval, but tonight we will hear a presentation from Assistant General Manager Thompson.
Thank you, Director Dias. Good evening, President Lane, board members. We're probably all very familiar with this item. Every year it comes back up, and AVEK has been supporting the USGS groundwater monitoring program for decades. Currently, we share that cost across the AV state water contractors. They carry half the cost. The Irwin Group carries 25%, and the Water Master carries 25%. The AV State Water Contractors Association did approve this restricted funds budget on October 9th, but it does need to come back to each member agency for final approval. So that's what we're seeking tonight, is the approval of a resolution adopting this budget and allowing the AV State Water Contractors to collect on it and pay their portion of the USGS groundwater monitoring program. And just as a reminder, the data that is collected through this program is used by the Water Master Engineer. They use that to inform the model that they've developed that stands on the shoulders of the former USGS model. And it is utilized every single year to assess the health of the basin. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Did we ask for a speaker in the future to go over that program?
We haven't found someone from USGS that would do any different than they have previously. I would be happy to give a presentation on how the Water Master Engineer utilizes the USGS information, if that would be useful.
Well, I think we would like a presentation just about, from the person who's monitoring, the condition of the wells, the depths. We used to have a very good presentation. The last one was not very good. Could we work on that, Matt?
Yeah, Pete and I can reach out to some more folks within USGS and try to get somebody that can target specifically what we're looking for.
We're paying quite a bit of money, so we should have some in the presentation.
Yeah, I think what you're remembering is years ago, I think the guy's name was Peter Martin, and some other
Very good, very good.
And they were more scientific based, where the two presentations we've recently had are more of a field operation type folks. So we'll try to target more of the people that behind the science of it and what the program means to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, Keith, you remember those earlier presentations, how good they were?
Yes, I do, and, the name Peter Martin really brings back a lot of memories of very well-presented technical information.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any further comments or questions?
I move approval of Board Order 8C1.
Motion by Director Parrish,
I'll second.
Director Miller, second. Madam Secretary?
Audrey Miller, Yes. Robert Parrish,
Yes.
Jay Tremblay,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Drew Mercy,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam,
Yeah.
George Lane.
Yes, motion carried. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Pete.
Okay.
And that,
right.
that concludes our report tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Director Dice. Very good. Moving right along to General Manager's report. Matt?
Yeah, pretty short report tonight since we gave the full state water supply update and local demands, et cetera, at the last meeting. But Peter's going to go through the first slide here, talking about the San Luis Reservoir risk of spill.
All right, thank you, Matt. Good evening again. So this slide comes from a presentation that DWR gave yesterday. That PA on the slide stands for position analysis. They do that in the fall to determine what kind of risk of spill the contractors might have as they move through the year. So looking at this graph, if you follow that bottom dark red line, that's November. What they anticipate the fill rate of San Luis to be in November. They believe that there's about a 12% chance that San Luis, the state water project portion of San Luis could fill by the end of November. And then the odds go up as you move through the year. So December becomes up to a 42% chance, January 65%, all the way to March where it says 88%. But I do think one thing that's really important to bear in mind is this is based on average hydrology. They're looking back at previous records and applying average hydrology. And then they're also assuming that nobody changes the pattern of their deliveries, which if you tell someone you're going to spill, the first thing a contractor is going to do is change their pattern of deliveries to reduce their risk. So these risks are kind of a baseline, worst case scenario, those odds will go down as the year progresses, unless we get some massive storms going through. So the other thing at the backdrop to this is there's still a great deal of salinity in the Delta that is reducing the amount of pumping that we can do in the Delta and put water in San Luis. And they anticipate that'll continue for at least a week. And the forecast looks pretty dry as we look out to the next 2 weeks. So those odds are probably shifting down, but we're going to continue to keep an eye on it and make sure that we're ready, positioned to bank water or transfer water as the board so chooses if that situation arises. But happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments? Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Pete. Next slide. This is a carryover from our last meeting where we presented a mock-up of what the new dedication plaque for the High Desert Water Bank would look like. So we're given 3 options there. Tried to lay it out like you're sharing carpet samples with your wife, pick number 1, 2, or 3. So the number 1 was what we presented at the last meeting. I think there was a suggestion to modify that item, option 2, to abbreviate the vision. So we did that. Everything else is the same. We removed the R in Keith Dias's name at his request. And then option 3 was another suggestion to just have vision numbers.
I'll take my, I suggested abbreviate the divisions. I think it looks better spelled out.
Number 1 is what you're suggesting.
It's all in a column, it looks
Yeah.
neater, it's more professional. is number one, is that okay with everyone?
Do I get to vote my name?
Okay, okay, I think you've got your answer, Matt.
Yeah, everybody's good with number one. I hear no objections to that. How about you, Director Dias and Van Dam, you're good with it?
Yes, number one, fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, number one's good.
All right, next slide. Just upcoming events, we have Veterans Day on the 11th. It is an agency holiday, but we do have a board meeting that night that we're gonna keep on the books. We have the CSDA chapter luncheon scheduled for Thursday, the 13th at 11:30 a.m. and that's gonna be at the fairgrounds. And Drew is a board member on that local chapter of CSDA. So does a good job there. No water master meeting during the month of November. There is, however, going to be a special water master meeting on the 17th of December at 10 a.m. And Director Miller did a good job at the last meeting filling in for Director Parrish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Audrey.
And I think they're working on an advisory committee date since the meetings have been mixed up. So I haven't heard if that's locked in or not, but I think they're looking at November 19th or something like that. So we'll get that out once it's confirmed. And that's all I have to report tonight.
Okay, is there any further questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Moving on to director's reports, do we have any? Moving on to attorney report.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a couple of status reports to give the board about what's happening in your general counsel's office. The first thing I'll mention is we know we have this, we've been directed by the board to give a comprehensive memorandum about how we would be implementing an advisory election in reference to the support or non-support of the Delta Conveyance Project. Where virtually all of the legal work is done, it's ready to be submitted to the committee and the staff and ultimately to the board. But we are waiting for we have some information on the costs, depending upon when the election would be called, that we think is pretty substantial and may be crucial to the final decision. Holly has been working diligently to get that information directly from the LA County Registrar Recorder's Office. And like I said, we have 2/3 of it. There's just one potential election date where we can't calculate the potential costs based upon what's on the ballot, including that measure, until the LA County Board Registrar Recorder sets the charges for that election. And that hasn't occurred yet. It's supposed to occur this month. So we'll have that ready, complete report ready for the board, hopefully within a week or two, worst case. Then one other thing I want to bring you up to date on is the fact that I think you all know that my partner Tilden Kim is retiring as of January 1. He has done a whole lot of work, or good work for AVEK, working with me, and we are working on a solution, maybe with one or maybe more than one assistant to work on AVEK's matters and to attend the meetings particularly. And we have one person that came up to a meeting with me, Kyle Brochard, who's a really excellent water litigator. I've been mentoring him for 2 or 3 years. I think he's ready to try to step into the assistant general counsel spot. But at the same time, we have been interviewing, and I'm interviewing again Friday, a really good candidate of a senior lawyer who's worked for the Kern County County Counsel's office, and the key water rights person in that office for years. And prior to that, represented as general counsel many of the water districts in the Central Valley, particularly around Bakersfield. So he's very skilled and experienced. So we have two flavors, people, both of whom are excellent. And we eventually want to show both of them to you. And when we pick the final successor, will be at the board's direction. So that's where we are on those two items that are moving along, but not quite complete.
Yeah, thank you for the update, a very, very good update, we appreciate that. Is there any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you much. Request for future agenda items.
I have a question regarding, the Brown Act. Was there anything, I heard there were some changes that took place in the Brown Act. Was there anything that we need to be concerned with? And can we have a presentation maybe at the next board meeting if there was anything of consequence we need to know about?
Yeah, did you hear the question, Jim?
Yes, and the answer is yes. There has
Yeah.
been yet another Brown Act amendment and another one that deals with having people attend the meeting virtually through either telephonic or TV hookup. And in this case, they're referring to the general public. Doesn't really so much change anything about board member virtual attendance, but it does the general public. And essentially, the general public in many of the entities in California as of January 1 is going to have to be set up for any time there's a meeting, a board meeting where the general public can attend and comment. So that's that, and we're going to have when that's all straightened out, we'll have to the staff and the board an advice opinion that gets into the detail of it, but that's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, good question, Audrey. Is there anything further?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
We have a motion by Director Miller.
Second.
The second by Director Ferris. I know there's not gonna be any further comments, but, Madam Secretary, we'd have the roll call.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
Jay Tremblay,
Yes.
Keith Dias,
Yes.
Lou Mercy,
Yes.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Everybody have a good evening, drive safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's do it together.